Thank you, Alexandra. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this meetup. My name is Lakshmi. I'm part of the customer success strategy and architecture team at MuleSoft. So I have around 13 years of experience in various integration domains. And I've worked with customers across US and right now I'm in Canada. So as part of the customer success strategy and architecture team, we work with customers to give them strategic and technical guidance on how best to utilize the platform, what are the best practices, identify capabilities that they are not leveraging, and give them the right enablement so that they see value and are successful in the long run. So I'm based out of Toronto, and thank you for letting me do this. And, let me start. I'll share my screen, so please let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So the topic for today is KPIs and Metrics Accelerator. So I wanted to evangelize on a framework. It was previously known as Metrics Framework, and now it is known as Metrics Accelerator. This is an free capability that we provide to customers. It was developed by our MuleSoft professional services team. So it has a lot of capabilities, and I wanted to evangelize the community on that so that they can use it within their organization to measure the value that they are realizing out of the platform. So let's get into it. Wow, 1 minute. Yeah. So first thing, on a high level, let's understand what a KPI and a metric is. So metrics are quantifiable value. Usually they are measured in as a number. So for example, the number of APIs that you build in the Anypoint platform, that could be a metric. The number of vCores that you're allocating to your API, that could be a metric. The number of APIs that is being reused across business groups, that could be a metric. And when you pull all these metrics and understand the trend, you have to do some analysis on these metrics, persist them over a period of time, say 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. When you start collecting these metrics out of the platform and doing some analysis on them and understanding trends by doing analysis on those metrics over a period of time, you will be able to arrive at KPIs that make sense to your organization. So every organization will have to come up with KPIs that is important to them. So for example, for one organization, platform adoption may be an important KPI. They will want business groups across the organization to adopt the Anypoint platform and start developing new applications and more and more. So how do you measure those KPIs? You need these underlying metrics, and not just the metrics. You need to do some analysis on those metrics over a period of time to understand if you're truly achieving the KPIs that you have set out as an organization. So take, for example, if you get the number of, if like I said, if platform adoption is an important KPI for you, you cannot just get the number of APIs in a specific business group and say that the platform is being adopted. You need to understand if the KPI, if the APIs that are being developed are being reused across the business groups in an organization. You need to understand that over a period of time, say 6 months, and then you need to see if the APIs are just being used by one business group or is it being used by all the business groups, and if it is being used by all the business group, is it a steady growth? You need to do that analysis to understand if you're truly measuring those KPIs. So KPIs are important to measure the value that the organization is seeing out of the platform. So every organization will have objectives, right? They want to digitalize. They want to, improve the customer experience. So if you go one level lower, these KPIs will help you measure if you're attaining those objectives. So that's where it's important to collect these metrics and do analysis on them over a period of time to understand if you're truly achieving the KPIs as an organization, and eventually is that contributing to you achieving your business objectives. So metrics and platform metrics is just one aspect of it. We have the platform, the Anypoint platform. We can pull metrics out of the platform, like the API metrics, the analytics, the monitoring metrics, the runtime manager metrics. You can pull metrics out of all the components in the platform, but that alone might not be enough for you. So you will need to even connect to your external SDLC systems, like your Jira, Jenkins, Bitbucket, to understand how the project intake process is going on. Are you deploying APIs at a fast rate? How is the developer productivity being measured? So you need metrics from your external systems in addition to the metrics from the platform to truly, you need to marry them to truly get to get visibility of whether you're achieving those KPIs as an organization. So that's where the Metrics Accelerator comes into play. So what is the Metrics Accelerator? It is an extensible Mule application. It's basically a Mule application developed by professional services, available to all customers free of cost. But it is not supported. Let me just put it. It is available in GitHub. You can download it and you can install it in your environments. But what it does is it does all the hard work and hides away all the complexity from you. It collects all the metrics from the platform APIs, from the external. It also has the capability to plug into the external systems, and it does aggregation of those metrics. And then it has capabilities to load it into certain visualization systems like Splunk or Elk. And also, you can customize it in however you want. So if you want to introduce another system, if you want to pull metric from another system, you can add those hooks there to pull those metrics and to connect to those systems, and then load the metrics to whatever visualization system that you are using in your organization. So if you are going to do this from the scratch, right, as an organization, if you're saying, okay, now I have to pull all those metrics, I have to look at the platform, I have to connect to the platform, I have to connect to the external systems, you need to use the APIs, the platform APIs available from Anypoint platform, and you need to build all this from the scratch. That complexity is hidden away by the Metrics Accelerator. So conceptually, if you see, this is how the Metrics Accelerator looks. This part is the Metrics Accelerator. So it's a Mule application. It has the data. It can plug into those data points. So this is your Anypoint platform. It basically uses the Anypoint platform REST APIs. So if you're aware, the platform provides REST APIs for all the components, whether it's Runtime Manager, whether it's API Manager, you have Cloud Hub APIs, you have the Analytics API. So under the hood, it uses all these platform APIs to pull those metrics. It can also connect to your external systems like Jira, Bitbucket, Jenkins. If it wants to, if you want to pull metrics like the number of repositories, the number of defects in a project, the number of user stories that is still not deployed to production, it can pull all of those data. It does aggregation of the data and based on certain logic, and then it loads. It produces one JSON output, and it can ingest that data into your visualization systems. So for Splunk, it can ingest it into the Splunk indexes. Similarly for Kibana, whatever is the Logstash pipelines, it can connect to those Logstash pipeline and ingest the data. For Anypoint monitoring, it's a little bit extra work. You will have to use the custom metrics connector that we use, to publish those metrics that have been pulled. And you need to have Titanium, because custom metrics is a Titanium feature. So in Anypoint monitoring, you need to have Titanium subscription to get that data that you publish using the custom metrics connector, and then you'll have to build dashboards to visualize it. But we provide out-of-the-box dashboards for Splunk and Elk. As in GitHub, I'll show you that will help you jumpstart your visualization process. So you have the data, you have the aggregated data with you. You're also getting some pre-canned dashboards. So the dashboards will essentially read the data that is ingested into Splunk and present the data. So now all you need to do is see the visualizations if they are what you want, or you can customize those visualizations based on your business needs. So conceptually, this is the Metrics Accelerator. It is again, I'm just repeating, it's an out-of-the-box, it's a Mule application that you can download from GitHub. It can connect to various source systems. It does aggregation and transformation, and then it can load the data into various visualization systems like Splunk, Elk. Recently, Tableau support was also released, so it can connect to Tableau as well. So, like I said, so you get, and one more thing, you can run this Metrics Accelerator, which is a Mule application in a scheduled mode or on demand in a real time mode. So, for example, if you want to run it once a day, because not all metrics have to be collected every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, right? It doesn't make sense. So, depending on the metrics that you're collecting, if you have to run the Metrics Accelerator once a day, you can set up the cron job in the Metrics Accelerator to run once a day, and it will be able to fetch all the metrics, do the aggregation, and load the metrics into the visualization system when it actually runs. Similarly, if you want on demand, if some team wants to just suddenly wants to look at the metrics on demand, you can do that. You have the Postman collection to run the Mule application on demand. It can give you the metrics as a JSON, or there's also operations to load the metrics on demand to the visualization systems. And with regards to the platform benefits, it has some pre-built formulas. So, for example, let me show you that. So, for example, here you have your platform metrics. So you have the vCores usage, the number of transactions, number of users, the API instances, the assets in exchange by their type. Then you are also connecting to your external metrics, the SDLC metrics, to get all these metrics. So now you can actually calculate what are the benefits you're seeing by marrying your operational and external metrics over a period of time. So you can calculate the reuse percentage that you have seen by the number of API, whether it's API specifications or the code, the common services that you create, how are they being reused across business groups in an organization. You can calculate the reuse percentage out of it. You can calculate the developer productivity. Actually, there is a platform benefits operation within Metrics Accelerator, which will take in certain manual inputs from you, whether it is like, before you use the platform, it took you 15 man hours to develop an API. After you use the platform, because the components are being reused, whether it's API specifications or the RAML fragments, things like that, they're getting reused. What is the savings that you have seen because of the reuse? It can calculate that and give you in a dollar value. So because of using the platform, because of all this reuse, you are getting so much savings, and this is the dollar value that you're getting from reuse as well as the savings from maintenance. So it has some pre-built formulas built into it to calculate that. So that will also be, and those are all customizable. That's the bottom line, because every organization is different. There might be different variables that are applicable to an organization. So you can do those changes to that framework, and you can deploy it in your whichever environment, and you can run it to understand what is the savings that you're seeing. And you don't have to run this Metrics Accelerator in a production environment. You might think, right, I have to allocate so many vCores for this. You don't have to. You can run it in a non-production environment, and it can connect to your production environment. Basically, you need to, the way it authenticates with the platform is you'll have to give either a user ID password, which has of an org admin, or you can use a connected app, which is the recommended approach. So there's a connected app features in the Anypoint platform where you can specify the scopes for the connected app to give it the required access. And instead of specifying a user credential, right, to connect to the platform, you can use the connected app. I will just go to GitHub. I wanted to show you. So this is the GitHub link for the Metrics Accelerator. It is available in our catalyst, and the link is also available in GitHub. So if you see, like I said, it has the options. It has two modes, in real-time mode and the scheduler mode. It can connect to platform metrics, that is the platform to collect all the metrics. It can connect to external SDLC systems like Bitbucket, Confluence, Jenkins, Jira, to pull all of these metrics. And it can also load them into Splunk, Elk, Tableau, MongoDB. it has those plugin points that to connect to those systems and load them into visualizations. I'll show you some dashboards which where you will truly be able to appreciate the value of this. And this this Metrics Accelerator, it requires, if I'm right, it requires a certain Mule version. It's 4.2.2 or above. And all the deployment models are supported, whether you're in Cloud Hub, on-prem, or Runtime Fabric, it doesn't matter. It can pull the data from in any deployment model. Bear in mind, it pulls the data for all, by default, it pulls the data for all the business groups within an organization. So you might, if you don't want, if you are a huge organization and you have a lot of business groups, you might want to specify the specific business groups that you want to be pulled. And it might sometime, it might run into rate limiting. You might get that 429 errors because of the large amount of data that is being pulled. So you have the option to customize all that when you run the API to specify which business group has to be pulled. You can also specify if you only want design center metrics. You don't want all Runtime Manager, Exchange, API Manager. You just want design center metrics. You can specify that. So there is an option called collectors in the input when you run the API. Yeah, so you can specify by default it is all, but if you just want any point MQ or Exchange or standalone, whatever this thing, that component, you just have to specify that as the value. And I'll show you the application in Studio, but how it looks and what you have to do if you have to customize the application. But I just wanted to go through this first. And you also have steps written out how you, if you are an organization that uses Splunk, right? What do you have to do in Splunk to load these metrics? You have all of the steps written out, and it's extremely simple. I have, what I'm going to show you is I have a local instance of Splunk running in my machine, and it really took like 5 to 10 minutes setting up those indexes and those HTTP event collectors, and then ingesting that index and visualizing the data. So the conceptually, just imagine it. It's a Mule application that is running on a scheduled basis, and it is ingesting the data to your whatever is your visualization system, and the dashboards that you create in your, whether it's your Kibana dashboards, your Splunk dashboards, you can then view, pull up the data and view it in a way that provides value to you. The important point is it every time it runs, it's going to pull data that is at that point of time, right? It is a platform API call, so it's going to pull data that is available at that point of time. That's why it's highly recommended to persist the data that is being pulled every time into a data store, whether it's a database or your index, Splunk index. Persist it, and only then, when you persist it over a period of time and visualize it over a period of time, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, that will only give you true value, when you will be able to visualize and understand the patterns and come up with trends to see how the platform is providing you value. How are you gaining value from the metrics? It's just pulling the metrics and visualizing it at a point of time is not going to give you that much value. Only when you persist it for a period of time and do the analysis and trends on top of those metrics, you will be able to understand. So I'll show you examples. So and just before I go into the dashboards, I wanted to, so yeah, this Metrics Accelerator can be used by all teams in your organization. So different teams will have will be interested in different metrics, right? So your security team could be interested in understanding if you have if there are security policies are being applied to all the APIs being deployed to production. So because of audit purpose, so you can have visualizations that talk that display that data just for them. Similarly, your organization leader will be interested in looking at the platform growth, right? How are the vCore usage being? He'll want to relate the vCore usage with. Take for example, your vCore usage is going up and up, but are you releasing new features, or is the vCore usage just for what do you say, like handling the capacity, handling the traffic? So maybe there is a design issue. So your business stakeholders might question you, like when you have to pay for new vCores, they'll want to see how is the vCore usage directly related to the new features, the new releases that are happening with the organization. So that's where, if you when you can pull the vCourse usage from the platform metrics, and then you have to integrate it with the external metrics to look at the projects being deployed to production. And then if you have this visualization across the organization for different business groups, you will be able to justify when you talk to your business stakeholders that yes, that you can justify that you need more vCourse because you are deploying new projects, which is in turn creating new whatever features for your customers, and it's actually delivering value. But you need that visualization to be able to justify and have that conversation with your business stakeholders. So that's where this metrics accelerator, and when you marry that with my external metrics, that visualization will help you. Similarly, API consumption. I've seen certain customers primarily interested in who are the clients who are invoking my API, how many APIs are being used, or what are the APIs that are most frequently being invoked by our consumers. Why is it so? I mean, why is an API being used more than another API? So what is it that these APIs don't have that those APIs have? Which geography is this API being invoked? I mean, is it from a US market? Is it from a Canada market? All those API consumption and API analytics. Again, when you pull those metrics and when you visualize them over a period of time, it will give you that visibility as to it gives you a visibility of all the API consumption details and how you can, better architect the APIs that are not being used. So that's where it gives you value. This is just documentation. So of all the metrics that are pulled from Exchange, let me dashboards where you really understand. So like I said, it's very easy to set this up. All I had to do was create indexes and set up the HTTP event collector. And so my Mule application is running and it is ingesting data into the Splunk index. And now I have those dashboards. So if you see here, when I told you, right, we give you pre-canned dashboards that you can use. So if you see here, we have dashboards for Splunk, Elk, Tableau. So we have all these pre-cached dashboards already, so that you don't have to start it from the scratch. This is meant to be a jump start, just so that you understand how the visualizations look. So let me show you how easy it is to create a dashboard. Take, for example, access management. I don't have the access management dashboard, but I have the data. The data is sitting in the index. Now all I need is to create a visualization out of it. So I just go create dashboard. And in the source, I can just reuse this access management dashboard code that is already there. And so if you see this dashboard data, it is looking into this index, the metrics. So that is the name of the index that I had defined. That is the name of the index that I defined in Splunk. And similarly, it is pulling the data from those metrics. If you see all those data, the platform metrics data, the stat, it is pulling all of that from the metrics, and your Mule application is continuously ingesting the data into those metrics. So when I save this, it has the data in the metrics. So there you go. You have all the visualizations. Now, if you look at this, some companies will want to track user activity, access management from a user perspective as well as from an environment perspective. So this clearly says the total number of users who are active and the active users in the last 60 days. So you have total 32 users, but only 15 users have been active in the last 60 days. So that gives you get that visibility of your user activity. Similarly, if you want to see and all of this is based on business group. If you see here, you can select the specific business group that you want to visualize your data, and you also have the data for each business group, like what times are the users accessing the platform. Was it only when there was releases, and if you see here June to August, it's been pretty static, but before that there have been a lot of activity. So you can understand all of those visualizations from that. Similarly, if you look at this, the number of environments you get, total number of environments, how much is your sandbox environments. This dashboard is only for access management. Keep that in mind. Similarly, how many applications you are having. So you can customize this dashboard. Take, for example, you're connecting to your IDP system to set up single sign-on. You can probably pull up data as to how many users are actually created from your IDP and how many users were created from your platform. As a good practice, it is always better to, once you integrate with your IDP, integrate the Anypoint platform with your IDP, it's always a good practice to disable the option to create new users from your Anypoint platform and have all the user management in one group, which is your centralized IDP for your organization. So you can track all of that. How many users were created, what are the permissions that each user has, how many of them are org admins, how many of them have permissions to create deploy applications, does your ops team has the right permission. So you can visualize all of that over here, and this is for access management. Similarly, you have dashboards for take, for example, I told about analytics, right? So you have the API manager and the analytics data being pulled. So you see the number of transactions that in the last 30 days. This is at a high level. So in this example to the org that I've been connected to, there is like 950 API requests in the last 30 days, right? So what you can do, you have the data which also tells for each API how many requests you've been receiving for the last 30 days. So if you want that visualization, you have the data already. You just have to edit this dashboard or create a new one to have that visualization at the API level if you need it, if that is your requirement. Similarly, if you look here, very important, how many are inactive APIs? How many APIs have not been receiving any requests for the last so many days, and how many are the most active APIs? Similarly, these are all based on business group. So this is very useful if you want to track your API usage, keep track of incoming traffics, which APIs are being used more than others, basically the API consumption rate. So it gives you a high level on the transaction count. So like I told you, you can go up to the API level. You just need to customize the visualizations. And you also have you can use this in in sync with the Anypoint monitoring metrics. So in Anypoint monitoring, you have analytics as well, right? So if you want to go to that deep API level metrics, like I said, right, the number of requests within the API, that's already available to you in Anypoint monitoring. So you can use this in conjunction with that, or you can also edit this visualization to have that data as well. So if you see based on business group, how many instances have been created in the last 30 days, how many transactions and requests, if you see everything is in the master org level. I'm just using a test account. So everything is the master org level. So you can get that based on the business group. And like I said, it's very important for certain companies to understand that how many APIs are there in production without secure policies, and how many APIs are there with secure policies. So again, you can get that visualization. You can understand what are all the policies that you're using for your APIs. And maybe client ID enforcement could be a standard that you want to ensure that every API being deployed to production should have client ID enforcement. So you can identify those data as well, and you can plan to address them, in your future releases. So API consumption, API analytics, you can have a dashboard for that. Similarly, take Runtime Manager. So assume a Cloud Hub environment, and you take Runtime Manager. I want to know the number of vCores that is available for me currently, and how many are used, how many are available. I want to understand it grouped by business group. Which, like I said, if you're tracking platform adoption, and if your vCore usage is going high, it doesn't mean that your platform is being adopted. What if only one business group is using up all the vCores, whereas other business groups are not even developing APIs? What if the business group that is using the vCores is using it for handling capacity and not releasing new features? So that's when you need to visualize this, and you need to analyze this over a period of time to get the true visualization. So you are pulling the metrics, you have the metrics, and you have metrics based on business group, Now you need to build out that visualization to understand truly as to whether it is the vCore usage, increase in vCore usage or decrease in vCore usage is because of platform adoption, or is it because of, like I said, just for addressing capacity concerns. Similarly, you also have, if you're using multiple versions, runtime versions, right? You have Mule applications running in multiple runtime versions. It is able to collect all of the data and list it out for you. So it's a good practice to always be in 4.3, which is the latest version, right? So you can track how many APIs are there in 3.9, how many APIs are there in 4.2, and you can plan to address them. And similarly, how many APIs in your non-production environment? Sometimes I've seen customers to save vCore usage, they keep applications in stop state. So you can track that as well. You can get a visualization of that as well. So I'll show you a custom dashboard that I created by integrating the platform and the external metrics. So I keep telling you, right? So you can connect to Jira, Jenkins, and it is important. Now, take for example, you have API reuse as an important KPI, for your organization. Now you're trying to understand what are the factors that affect the API reuse, and you are creating API fragments. Okay, as a good practice, you're creating YAML fragments. You're creating those common services and templates, and you're enforcing them across teams. But you're still not seeing the API reuse percentage going high. So why is that? So that is where, if you pull in the external system metrics, if you connect to, like I told you, the Metrics Accelerator has the capability to connect to Jenkins, Jira, Bitbucket, pull off those metrics, and now take, for example, if you can pull the defects for a particular API. So I said you've developed the core services, right? For example, this is the SMS notification API. Take, for example, this is a project where you as a C4E team, you have created some common services. One is the SMS notification API that you want all projects to reuse. Similarly, you have another logging framework, which is very common use case where you want to enforce all teams to use this common asset. Now, if you see, I'm pulling out the defects information for this specific API from those external systems. So if you see, this has a high number of defects, the SMS notification API. And if you see the reuse percentage for the SMS notification API, it is extremely, so the logging framework is extremely high. The SMS notification is extremely low. So there you go. Mirrors, right? Because of the increase in the number of defects, the adoption of that API across projects is low. You have low defects in logging framework, so the adoption is high across projects. So now you can understand, because of this visualization and by marrying that platform metrics with your external SDLC metrics, you get an understanding that the quality of the API being developed is playing a significant role in whether it's being reused or not across the organization. So this is just an example. So it's a fictitious example, but I'm just trying to explain, like, once you marry all those metrics and you visualize it over a period of time, you're able to understand that because of the quality of this SMS notification API is not up to the mark, teams are reluctant to reuse that in their project. Whereas the logging framework is a stable component and you're seeing a high level of reuse. This is just an example. Similarly, if you look at another example, the MTTR, right? So MTTR is nothing but the mean time taken to resolve your issues in production. You can notice that, whenever you develop your APIs, it's a good practice to enforce a test coverage, right? So it's good to have a test coverage of 75% and pass your unit test cases only if the test coverage is met. So if you see here, when the test coverage was 70, the MTTR, that is the mean time to take in, was high. So when you enforce that test coverage percentage, your time taken to identify issues in production was also very quick. Whereas as it came down, we were noticing that there were more. It was taking more. You had more issues, and it was difficult to identify those issues in production. So this is another analysis that you can do, and you can ensure that, okay, the test coverage is actually having an impact on the quality of the code being deployed to production. So if I had a test coverage of 75%, if I ensured that when I brought the test coverage down to 40%, my code quality is actually going down, and I'm seeing more time taken to resolve my issues in production whenever I have issues. This is again a visualization that will help you out. So this is where you have to integrate the metrics. You can't just rely on the platform metrics. You have to integrate it with your external metrics and persist them over a period of time. That is very important. So you pull those metrics, you persist it in a database or a external data store, or your indexes, persist over a period of time, do the analysis, and then you get the visualization to get the true value. What is affecting, in this case, what is affecting the reuse of those APIs. And we are able to we are able to identify that quality is affecting the reuse. And we are only able to do that by pulling the quality related metrics from our SDLC system and the platform related metrics from our Anypoint platform. So the Metrics Accelerator is your tool to do that. Basically, it can connect to both of the systems, aggregate the data, give it to you. You just have to build out those visualizations in a way that makes sense to you. So that was a couple of examples of how it can provide benefit to you. Similarly, if you take Exchange, right? Exchange, it's very information around reuse is very powerful. So it gives you the number of assets by type. So we always tell customers that you see this fragments are very low, and fragments are like the most important. RAML fragments are the most important components to have when you want to achieve reuse in your API design. So you can plan to identify that. You can identify, am I building only proxies or am I building integrations as well? You can get that visibility. And you get this feedback, right? So like I said, if you are able to pull that, collect that feedback for your components that are being created. So right, in Exchange, you can create APIs, you create the API console, and you have a way to get feedback from your various stakeholders. If you can pull that data and get the satisfaction percentage, that could also give you insight as to why a specific API is not being reused, right? Because people are not happy with it, or people are very happy with it. You get that visibility, so you can pull that data as well. So again, behind the hood, it's basically using those Exchange APIs, which has all the data, and it's aggregating all the data and giving it to you. So if you visualize it, you'll be able to get that overall satisfaction index, and you'll be able to take steps to increase that satisfaction. It can, like I said, it can calculate the average number of times, like a extension, like that logging extension, which we saw, right? How much is it being implemented by application? The average reuse is 25%. Why is it only 25%? So then you start doing those analysis, and you start comparing it and integrating it with other metrics to truly understand why the reuse is less. Similarly, the API specification, are the RAML fragments being used across API specifications? What is the consumer's feedback on those API specifications? Do they want a change in the way the data modeling has been done? So all of this, you can pull that satisfaction index and understand, and plan to better better do the API specification, so that going forward you can increase the overall satisfaction index. So these are all examples. So you can have a consolidated framework, consolidated dashboard, where it has data from all of your components. If you want Design Center, Exchange, all in one view, you can do that as well. These are all dashboards that you're getting out of the box. So you don't have to start from the scratch. You can use these dashboards, and then you can do some customizations based on whatever is your requirement. So all of these can help determine, how the platform is being used across the organization, and it can help you get that visibility into those important KPIs that are important to you. So certain organizations might be important. This thing, like I said, might be focused on platform adoption. Certain organizations might want visibility on their vCore usage. Certain organizations might be focused on developer productivity, increasing the developer productivity. So you can understand what are the factors that is affecting that developer productivity. So you can get that visualizations out of this. I also wanted to, let me quickly show you how the Mule application is structured. So yeah, I told you can run it in two modes, right? The API mode and the polar mode. So you have flows for both. And if you see here, you'll have collectors. Basically what the collectors do, they collect from the platform. So collect the metrics from their platform. This is the analytics, this is the API manager, this is the runtime manager, this is for Cloud Hub. So Cloud Hub, it will pull the number of VPCs and the number of VPNs you have. Are you using DLBs or not? You have mapping rules in DLB, things like that. It can pull all of that data. And in under the hood, it's using the platform APIs basically. And similarly, you have Design Center, Exchange, you have all of these collectors, and these collectors will in turn use these sources. So you can, if you go into this code, you can see in the properties file the actual platform API is being used, so that you get an idea of what data you're getting. So for example, if you're using API Manager, it will be calling two APIs, one to get the analytics and one to get the actual API Manager data. Similarly, for any deployment model, like I told you, irrespective of deployment model, it can run. Similarly, it has those external systems, the hooks to those external systems. I told you, right? Jenkins, Jira, Bitbucket. To pull that data, it can do that. And then finally, the loaders to load it into those systems. So you have the loader for Splunk, you have a loader for Tableau, loader for Elk. Now think if you want to, if you have a requirement where you want to connect this metrics framework to ServiceNow, you can easily do that. All you need to do is make sure you have all the data. Otherwise, you'll have to add in a collector to collect that specific data from the system. And then you add a loader where you can use MuleSoft's out-of-the-box ServiceNow connector. So you can just create a loader file, loader flow, and use the ServiceNow connector to send the data to ServiceNow. So you can, it's easy, it's customizable. It is open source. It is under your control. So you can customize it in whatever way you want. And if you look at the property files over here, yeah, that's where you will store all the data. So for example, if you want to run it in scheduled mode, you will have enabled as a true. Right now it's false, but if you want to run it in a scheduled mode, you'll have enabled at true. And the loader strategy will tell you where you want to load it. So if you want Splunk, you specify Splunk. If you want Elk, you specify Elk. Tableau is Tableau. And like I told you, right? Collectors over here. So if you specify all, it will pull from all the components in the platform, but you have the option to specify either RTF or Cloud Hub or Runtime Manager, whatever makes sense to you, you can do that as well. And the connectivity details to Splunk and Elk, they're all in this file. So like I said, I'm running a local instance of Splunk. And I showed you the dashboard, right? The metrics name was, the index name was metrics. So I've given that metrics here because it has to ingest it with that index name, right? Into the Splunk index. So I have to specify the metrics here. You'll get a token from Splunk, which I would have specified in this secure configuration. All the authentication information will be in the secure configuration. They're all encrypted for safety purpose. Like I said, all the other information to connect to the visualization systems are over here. Similarly, SDLC metrics, if you want SDLC metrics to be pulled, you can specify whether it's true or false over here. And for that specific system, you can give the properties. So whether it's Bitbucket, Jira, Jenkins, I'm connected to Jenkins, so localhost 8080, whatever is your Jenkins URL, you can specify that. So, and like I said, ServiceNow, if you're introducing, you just have to add all these details for ServiceNow. It's fully customizable. You can do whatever you want. So it's pretty simple to extend this framework. Let me go back. Okay, I think it's okay. Right. So just to reiterate the fact that always collect the metrics over a period of time and do, come out with trends to really understand and get visibility. So like I told you, you need to persist it for a period of time and then visualize it for a period of time to truly understand and arrive at that KPI that makes sense to you as an organization. So another example is if you have 40 exchange assets, that's a metric. And you can look at the assets by type, fine. But if you want to truly arrive at your KPI, which is platform growth, you need to persist it for a period of time and then look at how the metrics are being reused across business groups to gauge that platform growth and adoption, and finally arrive at whether that adoption is good or bad. So you need to persist it for a period of time. You have the metrics from the Metrics Accelerator out of the box. So you just need to persist it and then build out those visualizations to truly have that visibility of whether the platform is giving you value or not. So, and these are the SDLC metrics accelerators available. We spoke about it. It can fetch the data. And I showed you dashboards. You have dashboards for all these are sample dashboards. And the goal here is to help you kickstart your visualization journey. So you have dashboards for Exchange, Design Center, Runtime Manager, all your different components. You can build your own dashboards. You can consolidate dashboards. Like I showed you an example where I had built a dashboard that integrates with the external metrics and has a visualization, that marries the platform metrics with the external metrics, and I'm able to visualize how the quality of the API affects the reuse of the API, the adoption of the API. We spoke about how we can extend the framework. You had collectors and the loaders you had separate flows for different components in the platform, and you had separate loaders for different visualization systems. So you can always create your own loaders, always create your own collectors if you want to connect to different systems. And like I showed you, the properties file has the details where you have to configure the connections to your various systems. And this is the link which I showed you. It's in GitHub. It's open source. It's not supported by MuleSoft, so you cannot raise support tickets if you have any problems with the customization you do. But it is open source and it is available free of cost to all customers. Like I said, you might require either org admin access, but as a good practice, use connected apps and make sure you give the required scopes. The scopes required are all documented in GitHub to make sure that the calls are all successful. For your large accounts with greater than 25 business groups, try to limit the business groups in your call in the API calls, because of it has to aggregate so much of data. You might have those rate limiting 429 errors. So make sure that you limit the number of business groups that you specify in your API calls. And always, like I told you, ingest the data and persist it for a period of time. You will not get that true value by just looking at those metrics that you pull at a point of time and visualizing it. You will need to persist it for a period of time and then integrate it with those external metrics, and then come up with a visualization to give that true visibility of whatever KPIs that you're trying to achieve.